Hello? It's Christy Gray, your newest hype girl and astrologer. Welcome to the Cosmic Hotline. Hi, gorgeous, and welcome to this week's episode of the Cosmic Hotline. And this week, we have a very special guest. And our expert guest takeover is with Dr. Marion Piper. Where do I begin with Marion? Well, Maz is my friend. On her website or on her email, she's known as Dr. Maz. And what I love so much about her is she is some big Leo energy. But the biggest thing about Maz is that she puts her heart and soul into everything that she does. In this week's episode, not only are we diving into the stars of this week's most glorious Sagittarius new moon, but she's also taking us through a live tarot reading, and it is so damn juicy. She's going to give you some insight as to what her day-to-day looks like, but the one thing I can tell you about Dr. Maz is this. She's obsessed with creativity. She's an artist, and she's the one person I know that is just as obsessed as I am about asking powerful questions. So without further ado, I'm going to hand over the mic to her, and I'll catch you on the flip side.
I am so pumped to be here, and I do feel like you are somewhat pulling me out of my spiritual closet by talking about what we're going to talk about today.
How do you feel about that, by the way, being pulled out of the spiritual closet?
Yeah, I mean, I'm all for it. It's not necessarily that I'm specifically hiding this particular skill set that I have, but as with anything in life, you know, I view this as more of a tool and a way to connect with my higher self. And so it's a very private practice for me. However, whenever I've done it for friends and, you know, we've been talking about it, or I've been in the throes of delivering it, I just completely lose sense of all space and time and get totally in flow. And as you know, activity is very important to me. So this is very much a creative practice for me, which I think people will be interested to hear more about.
Yeah, because can you give us insight into what's your day job? What do you do on a day-to-day basis, and what are you going to take us through today?
Yeah. Ooh, this is so exciting. The build-up, the anticipation is killing me. Yeah, so I am an artist and a creativity coach. So I work a lot with predominantly women who are either looking to reactivate their creativity because their life has gotten in the way, or they're working professional creatives and they're out of juice and they need to find ways to replenish the well. So that's pretty much what I spend my time doing. I also still am a copywriter. So I still work with mostly with purpose-driven brands, doing website copy, pretty much website copy specifically now, some blogs here or there, but very much in that creative communication space. And I've been running my business for the last 3 years almost. And then what I'm going to take us through today, one tool that I've been pretty much obsessed with since I was a teenager, it's been that long, kind of off and on, is tarot. And so what I'm going to do today is I'm going to take us through a tarot reading for the Sagittarius new moon. We're going to do a 5-card spread, and we've got 5 really powerful questions that are designed really not so much to predict what's going to happen. And I think this is where one of the misconceptions of tarot comes in. Same with astrology. It's not about predicting the future, but what I really love about tarot is that it's heavily on the symbolism. It's all about storytelling, and it's really about the archetypal energy of the fool's journey. So this is our journey through life. It is all the big things that happen to us, what we go through, dealing with these massive themes like love and death and passion and creativity and intellect. And it's delivered through a beautiful deck of cards with lots of pretty pictures. So it definitely ticks all the boxes for me.
I know the answer to this, but I'd love everyone else to be able to hear your insights. Why are questions so important? And when you're navigating these big things in life, why is it so important to stop and create space to tune inwards and get curious?
Oh, we're just going straight into the biggest, juiciest question of them all. Why are we here? No, look, it's your life, right? So you are the creator of everything that happens, even if it feels like there's just shitstorm after shitstorm, we're still a part of that. We are not separate from it. And so I think we forget oftentimes that we can actually carve out a bit more space and push a bit more time out in order to figure out what it all means, right? And this is, if you can make something, if you make anything mean something to you, you're more likely to remember it, you're more likely to follow through on it, and it's more likely to feel good when it happens. So I really use tarot as a tool to just kind of bring my attention to certain things, especially because the deck is it's so archetypal, and it's really based around this idea of a journey, which we're always on. And what I love about tarot is you never really arrive, and there's always so many different combinations. And for me, that's what we're doing all day, every day, right? Is we're connecting the dots, we're having that creative moment in our lives. And when you can learn how to connect the most disparate dots together and find both similarities and differences between everything, I think you're in a much better position to be able to make better decisions. And I think that's why powerful questions are so important, because they help you get to the heart of what's important to you, not necessarily what other people think you should be doing. And that can be really confronting, and it can be really scary, especially to ask yourself those questions, which I think is an even more powerful skill to have. But then what I love about the tarot is it kind of externalizes that process for you a little bit. It gives you something to bounce off and to brainstorm with. And so when a card pops up and you get this like intuitive hit, like that's the thing you need to trust, rather than over intellectualizing or, going down the pros or cons list, because that's just one way to create an internal nightmare for yourself and make it harder to decide, right? So yeah, I think what I like about it is it makes you more present to what's happening inside of you, especially when the world is so chaotic, especially now. Like there's so many things happening.
I think that that's such a beautiful explanation, but also such a powerful way to work with the tarot, and then also to create that stillness and ask those questions. Because I know sometimes that I find with clients, and especially if they're not used to a journaling practice, they might get a journal because they're inspired or someone said they've had to do journaling. And then they get to this blank page and they're like, I don't even know what I'm going to write down. I hear this all the time. Whereas the tarot kind of does that for you. I've got my own deck of tarot cards, and it just helps me along with my journaling practice sometimes if I feel, I suppose, inspired to pull a card.
Yeah, I totally agree. You don't even have to come to a tarot deck with a powerful question. You can just come with an open mind and come with an open heart and ask it, like, what do I need to know right now? Even on a really like foundational basis. And you don't have to master the spreads or like memorize all the cards. Like you just really need to know the flavor of each of the suits, and a flavor or like a understanding of the structure of the tarot. And just having that really basic foundational knowledge will kind of steer you in the direction of the different areas of your life. Tarot is an incredibly interpretive practice. And everyone that publishes about tarot, the fundamentals will still be there, but their interpretation is obviously from their experience, right? So gathering all this information, especially when you're starting out, I think is really helpful, because what it'll do is it'll help you figure out what the cards mean to you. And then you've got, like we were saying before, you've got a bit of a sounding board to work off. So particularly, yeah, if you aren't used to expressing yourself, if self-expression doesn't come naturally to you, or you feel a bit out of practice, tarot is a really great tool to help sort of just remove some of the barriers from that.
When was the first time you picked up a tarot card deck?
You know what? It was one of my very, very first significant spiritual experiences when I was like 6 years old. My mum took me to the Gold Coast Mind Body Spirit Expo. So when it was out, when it was out in like Carrara, I think, like way, way out in Carrara. And she got her cards read, and then the woman was like, "Oh, do you mind if I read for your daughter?" And my mum's like, "Yeah, go for it, whatever." And what this woman said to me was like so profound. There were a couple of things that were specific, but it was just the way that she saw me. And it was like the first time I think I had somebody reflect back to me who I thought I was. And what it makes you realize, what these cards make you realize, is at the end of the day, we are fundamentally human. Even if everything on the outside looks completely different, there are so many things that join us together. There are so many similarities in what we experience. And I find that I don't get like put off by that. For me, that's very humbling experience, and it's definitely makes me feel much more connected to the whole. So that was my first experience. The deck that I have now, I got in Venice Beach in LA from like some random spiritual store because it literally jumped off the shelf at me. So I was like, okay, fine. But yeah, my first deck I think I had when I was like probably like 15. So I've had a few over the years. Like it's seen some things.
How do you pick a good deck? Because there's so many different decks that you can purchase now.
There's a kind of a few different ways to approach it, because what we are talking about when anyone refers to tarot, they're usually referring to like the Rider White tarot deck, whereas there are other types of spiritual decks like oracle cards, affirmation cards, moon cards. Like there's so many different things. So it kind of depends on where you're at. So if you specifically want to learn tarot, I would probably start with the Rider White deck just because it is the original. It's the easiest to decipher, especially in terms of the symbolism. Whereas a lot of the more contemporary decks, they're incredibly beautifully designed, like they're works of art in themselves. But if you learn on that deck, because of the interpretation, it can get a bit tricky. So I'd probably start with the Rider White. Then once you feel a little bit comfortable with that and it looks familiar, then it's just a case of choosing what resonates with you. And I think that's a very personal experience. I've got one that's not quite holographic, but it is very like neon colors. And I usually use that one when I'm needing a bit of energy because it is a very energetic deck. So I think I'd pay attention to the language that they use when they're talking about their deck. I'd pay attention to the design style, and if that's something aesthetically that you're like, ooh, that's beautiful, because we want it to be beautiful. Tarot, I think it has the potential to become a really nourishing ritual. And with any kind of ritual, you want to have your sacred objects. So for me, which deck I use is really depending on what I need. Like if I'm feeling pretty okay and I just like, oh, what should I pay attention to today? I'll just grab my original deck and just flip a card and be like, okay, cool, sweet, off I go. But if I'm trying to make it a little bit more special and as a form of self-care or as a creative practice, as a way to drum up ideas, I'll probably pick something that's a little bit more left of center, a little bit more creative.
I'm guessing there's no right or wrong way to do tarot. But say, for instance, I've got a tarot deck and I'm brand new to tarot. How can I connect with the cards? Is it about pulling one card? Do you have a spread that you tend to go to? What's your tips for connecting with the cards?
I think when I was starting out, I just started with a card every morning. For me, it's kind of all in the shuffling. So I shuffle it until it feels good. If any cards jump out, they're the ones that I'll usually pay attention to. It's a very tactile practice. And I think that's the part of it, I think, that brings you back down into your body and allows you to be more present. So even as you're shuffling, thinking about what's going on in your life, thinking about the questions that you have, thinking about something that you need clarity on, just really letting your mind go a little bit wild around what's happening in your life and what's worrying you, what you're celebrating. And then I used to just start with one card in the morning. I'd be like, what do I need to be aware of today? And then really look at the card. Look at what's happening in the card. How many people are on the card? What colors are on the card? What suit is the card from? What number is it? What's happening in the foreground of the picture? What's happening in the background of the picture? What is the general vibe of the picture that you're seeing? So it's all those things. You're piecing together all those little details. Is there any symbols that seem significant? Because again, everything on every card means something. Nothing is there by mistake, just like us, right? We're here for a reason. The tarot deck is mirroring back the human experience. So the more that you can pay attention and the more you can drop into your own experience, the more you'll get from it over time, I think.
I'm popping in with a quick public service announcement, and that is the most important part of the Cosmic Hotline is you. Have an astrology question you need answered? Nothing is off limits. Whether it's a question about your natal chart, the 411 on Mercury retrograde, or what is the significance of a particular transit or activation. Submit your question today with no strings attached, or select the option to have your question answered live, just like an astrology session I'd have with a client. Text or call 043 17 Venus or submit your question via the show notes below. Everything I try to do on the Cosmic Hotline is filled with intention. And whether it's inviting a particular guest on for an expert takeover, or whether it's having a conversation with you, babe, about what questions that you're asking, or giving you insight as to what's happening astrologically, it's really important to me that everything feels aligned with the current energy. And at this particular new moon in Sagittarius, we have a lot happening because of the fact that we have not only the sun and moon in Sagittarius, Venus is also in Sagittarius, which is how we receive love, and Mercury, which is our planet of communication. It's our intellect and how we synthesize information. So you've got this beautiful stellium of Sagittarius in the sky. And also they are connected to Chiron, and Chiron is an asteroid in astrology. You've heard me mention Chiron many times before, and Chiron is the wounded healer. So there's this really beautiful opportunity for growth and healing and expansion, because Sagittarius helps us to see what's possible. Now, the Sagittarius stellium is grouped together in the 11th house, and the 11th house is ruled by Uranus. So it's challenging us to think differently for our new beginning. And sure, it's not a new year yet, or I just want to put it out there, not an astrological new year yet, because that's the one that I vibe with, but it's an opportunity to lean into our hopes, goals, wishes, and dreams. And not only does Marion have some big Leo energy in her natal chart, it's all in the Sagittarius house, which is the 9th house, which is ruled by Jupiter, which is why I invited her on today for this spread, because I thought this energy is going to be magnetizing, and I just know she's going to be bringing the wisdom with her powerful questions.
Oh, yes, absolutely. And also Sagittarius rising over here. So feels this I'm going to feel this one. It's going to be big.
Absolutely. Now, let's dive in, baby. So, are we doing a 5-card spread?
Yes, we are doing a 5-card spread. But as you were talking too, and I was shuffling, I had a card pop out of the deck, particularly just at the end there, which was our King of Swords card, and it was reversed. And our King of Swords, he's sitting on our throne. Our King cards are our cards of mastery. So they're really the last card in every suit. And there are 4 suits in the tarot. And our swords, the suit of swords, is all about intellect. And when a card is reversed, because we have upright cards and reverse cards, reversed I interpret as meaning it's an internal experience, whereas upright is an external. Our King of Swords card is all about quiet power. It's about inner truth, and it's really about how we can master our internal, like our ideas and our thoughts, and learn to use them in a way that not only benefits us, but it's kind to the people around us. So that's kind of a bit of the energy that's coming through for this reading. But yes, we're going to do a 5-card spread. And I've cherry-picked some really great questions that are in the Sagittarius wheelhouse to do with things like change, freedom, adventure, and wisdom. So our first question is really around that wisdom piece. So what wisdom have I gained this past year? Oh, we got a very beautiful card. I've turned up the 9 of Pentacles, and our suits of Pentacles is really around our material possessions. So it's really around money, finances, assets. Words that come to mind are like abundance, luxury, and like the card itself, the predominant color is yellow, and yellow is like our happiness color. It is the color of money. It is color of abundance. And it's a woman in this gorgeous yellow robe, and she's holding a parrot and looking at him very adoringly. She's got a red beret on. The background is full of vines of grapes. And then we have the 9 Pentacles in amongst all the background of the grapes, right? And it's upright. This is about you've worked really hard to create this abundance, and it's been about this year enjoying the fruits of your labor. Thanks to your own independent efforts and your confidence and your discipline, you've had a bit of success, and you've built a bit of a foundation for yourself. So what this is also asking is, it's saying like, don't be afraid to enjoy it. If you think about this question of what wisdom have I gained this past year, it's really saying like, when you work hard and you're disciplined and you are focused and you get success, enjoy it, relish in it, luxuriate in it. It's safe. It's safe to do so. And it's also like you can treat yourself on the occasion. It's not saying go like full hedonism, excess, and blowout. but it's like, enjoy the fruits of your labor, enjoy your hard work. It can also be a card about harmony. So it can also be about appreciating the beauty and abundance that's found around you. That can be, in your home environment. It can be about nature, or it can really be about like harnessing the energy around you to bring pleasure to your life. So there's a few things in there when we think about the wisdom, but the thing that's kind of coming the loudest for me, particularly from that yellow color, is like, it is safe to celebrate success. Our second card, our second question for the Sagittarius new moon is, what is changing? And I love this question. What is changing? Ooh, the card that I have flipped over is the Empress reversed, which is one of our major arcana cards. We've got the major arcana and the minor arcana, and our major arcana are the big life themes, and our minor arcana are the experiences of being human, right? And so our minor arcana is from 1 to 10, and then there's a page, queen, and a king. And then our major arcana it starts with the Fool and it goes all the way up to the World. So it's the Fool's journey through life, right? And so our Empress card is the third card in the major arcana. It's a strong connection with our own femininity. It's a very feminine energy card. And the card itself, again, this dominant yellow color is coming through as well. Our Empress is sitting atop a throne. She's got a star headdress on. She's wearing this beautiful gown with, I believe, looks like pomegranates on it, which is a symbol of fertility, if I'm not mistaken. There's a love heart-shaped rock at her feet with the symbol of the woman. There's a cornfield in the front, which is, again, that's abundance, that's fertility. But interestingly enough, I turned her over and she was reversed. So this is really about, oh, I love this. This is so good. It's encouraging you to make self-love and self-care a priority. So what's changing? So now is the time to bring your loving energy and focus to yourself, especially if you've been giving away your power lately. So this is really saying, like, go for a walk, book a girls' weekend away, start a creative project that you've always been wanting to do. It's really about filling up your own cup, because that's what our Empress energy is. Like, she's really about nurturing, connection, sensuality, like it's beauty, it's balance, it's all those gorgeous feminine traits. This might also suggest that you could, if you are trying to work on a new creative idea, that you might be feeling a bit blocked, like especially this idea of birthing an idea. And so you might be a bit afraid, like, will this be a success or not? But as we've seen from our first card, our Nine of Pentacles, it's safe to celebrate success. So this card is saying, like, you don't have to worry too hard about what other people think, but the most important thing is that you allow whatever creative energy is coming to come through. And the way that you do that is you nurture yourself through self-care and self-love. Okay, so card number 3 is really about the question, what do I need to leave behind? Oh, so good. Now, our wands symbolize creativity and passion. Again, another incredibly yellow card. So we're getting this theme, we're getting this really feminine, abundant theme come through. Yeah, and wands are creativity and passion. And our 4 cards are really like starting to get to the middle of the suit. So when you're in those earlier numbered cards, it's really about the beginnings, and when you get to the later cards, you're starting to wrap things up. So we're really in the middle of things. We're in the thick of things, which I also like, because in this 5-card spread, the 3rd card is the middle. And so this card is really about, when it's in its upright position, it's all about celebration, joy, and harmony, and this idea of coming home. Because on the card, you can see that there's 4 wands, and there's this gorgeous, beautiful fruit banner hanging over them. There's people in the background cheering, and there's a castle. So when it's in its reversed position, and so this is really about you're at the end of a personal goal. So you've achieved a personal goal. And so it might be something like, I don't know, you've quit smoking, you've nailed your diet, you've finally got to that point in your routine where everything is flowing nicely. But the thing is, with this celebration, as we've seen, it is safe to celebrate success from our 9 of Pentacles. It's a quiet celebration. It's not that big homecoming, but it's something that you're like really proud of, and it's a mini milestone. So what do I need to leave behind? Everything that's come before that, right? This is very much a card that's saying, like, for this new moon, you're going to be somewhere in the middle of your journey, but you will have seen something come to close. So you would have achieved something. And so I think it's a really good opportunity for you to practice some of that learned wisdom for this year and celebrate that success. As I'm saying, talking about these meeting milestones, it's really also about achieving a certain level of inner harmony and stability. So these three cards, when I'm looking at them together, they are very much about paying attention to what's been happening inside and celebrating the growth that you've had. However, you still might be feeling a bit of upheaval. It's not a completion card, but you've definitely reached a little bit of a peak. And this is a good opportunity to stop and look around and go, actually, yeah, like I have achieved X, Y, and Z, and I'm going to take the time to gift myself a little treat. Because of that, I am going to love on myself, because it's important to do that along every part of the journey, not just at the end. Okay, 2 more cards to go. Card number 4, the question is, how can I free myself? So this is about that idea of freedom, which is such a big thing for our Sagittarius energy, right? Ooh, we've got the 2 of Wands, a very grey card, I might add, after our 3 very bright and yellow cards. Again, reminder that our Wands cards symbolize creativity and passion. And we have a man for the first time in this spread, at least that I'm able to see. He's holding one of the wands in one hand. There's one off to his right, and he's holding the world in his hand and looking at it. And there's a grey sky and there's vista, and he's kind of looking out over a vista. And so this card, which was also reversed, is about, oh, interesting. How do I free myself? Oh, this is good. You guys are going to love this one. This is really asking you to draw your intention inwards and to focus on those goals. So you might have actually headed in one direction only to realize it wasn't in complete alignment with where you are or where you want to be. Whenever you see a 2 card, it's either going to be a fork in the road, it's going to be a decision, or it's going to be like you'll have two really clear options. So you might actually be at a crossroads with this one, and you're kind of being asked to go back to the drawing board with this one. So to free yourself, it's saying go back to the drawing board and reconnect with your dreams and ambitions. You might have this fruitful path ahead of you, or you might have this idea that you're working on, particularly if we look back to our Empress card. So say you started this creative project, it looks really fruitful, but you don't have a strategy, or you don't have a how, you don't have a way forward to achieve that. It's really saying, go back to that original intention and spend some time there to really get back into the energy and enthusiasm that you felt at the beginning. Oh, and I love this too, especially from the last card that we had. So this is a really good opportunity. This new moon's a great opportunity to not only look at how far you've come, to celebrate the milestone, but then go back to your original intention of why you're doing what you're doing and realign to that after you've celebrated. But if you are at a crossroads right now and you're like not sure which direction to take, ask yourself a really simple question and say, what do I really want? What's keeping me from getting it? Maybe you're taking the easy path right now and it's not working. Sagittarius, big energy, big new moon. It's asking you to go all in. It's going like, hey, go bigger, dream bigger. You can actually get more than you originally thought at the beginning. Now is a really good time to reassess that. When you're looking at these 2 different paths, you're a little bit reluctant to take that step. You might be the big fish in a small pond, but this card is asking you to reconnect with your vision. It's saying, keep going. If you reconnect with your vision, why you're here, and really know that what you will need to explore, yeah, the potential here is huge. Okay, hopefully you're all still with me. We've only got 1 card left. And just as a reminder where we've come from before we hit to this last card, we started with our upright 9 of Pentacles, which was the wisdom that we learned from this past year. And that was really around, it's safe to celebrate success, to look around and to admire the beauty of your surrounds. And then we had for our second question, what is changing? It really is time to lavish yourself in self-care and self-love, and to start those creative projects and to start bringing those dreams to life. You have the power to give that to yourself from the inside out. And it's really around that inner balance and harmony that's going to get you there. And then our third card, what do I need to leave behind? That was our 4 of Wands reversed, which was an internal coming home. If that's probably the best way that I would describe it. And then we had our 4th card, which is how can I free myself? And that was really around starting to dream a bit bigger, not being afraid to walk the new path, not going down the easy way just because it's safe. This new moon is a really good opportunity to celebrate those milestones, but also to reconnect back to your vision. So Based on all of that, question number 5, what adventures are calling? Oh, nice. The card that I've turned over for you is the Judgment card, which I know sounds scarier than it actually is. But again, remember that the major arcana is there are really our big themes. And this one, judgment, is not necessarily about like judging other people or judging life, but it's really about the inner calling. It's about absolution. And it's really asking you to step up. It is asking you to step up into that next level of consciousness for you, and it's kind of like it's that little inkling that you have inside of yourself that you're here for more and that you're destined for much more. And this is your cosmic invitation. This is really this is what this new moon is asking you to do. It's like, it's time to let go of that old version of yourself and step into the new version of who you really are, based on loving yourself, celebrating yourself, and being that creative person that you really want to be. This card tends to pop up when you're close to reaching that really significant part in your journey. And maybe you're at a point where you've spent a lot of time, you've been doing a lot of work looking at where you've come from, and you're looking at your experiences and you're pulling out the lessons and you're implementing the lessons. And those pieces, the pieces of the puzzle of your life, are just slowly starting to come together. And they're starting to build this big picture of your life. You might even, for example, with you, Christy, I know you're looking at writing a memoir, and you're looking back at everything you've been through. Like, this is the perfect card for that. And this is about finding your own absolution. It's about letting go of all the regrets, of all the wrongdoings, of all the things that you want to forgive yourself for, right? And it's about purging. So this is the purging process. This is really saying, this is the call to adventure for you right now, is if you're not doing any of these things, it's a great opportunity to do it. If you do look to your past, it's one of the greatest teachers for you. So if you are on this path of trying to become like more kind to yourself, more loving, more creative, but you're not sure which way to go, it's like, look back for the lessons that will take you forward.
I hope you enjoyed this week's episode. And there was one thing I forgot to mention at the beginning. Marion has her PhD in post-traumatic growth, which is why she is just as obsessed with powerful questions as I am. It's all about finding meaning and a new perspective, especially when you're faced with adversity. I'll be back next week, and I have got some juicy astro in store for you. I'm going to give you some insight as to what you can expect over the next couple of months, astrologically speaking, and how you can navigate your time, energy, and greatest potential moving into the beginning of 2023. I cannot wait to be with you babes next week, and I'll catch you next time.